it's not the times you fall, but the times you stand up that
Oh,
count. That's what I would write.
that's beautiful. And it's true. We just talked about the pandemic, right?
Yes.
The Bible says that the just falls 7 times, but he picks himself up 7 times too.
This podcast is brought to you by ISU Corp. Are you having trouble with your software projects? Is there a project that's taking too long or a technology you can't handle? We can help. We are ISU Corp, experts in custom software since 2005. With almost 20 years of experience, we can solve any technical problem from new businesses to satellite software. We've done it all. Let us turn your ideas into reality. Learn more about how we can help by visiting us at www.isucorp.ca. Your solution starts here.
Hello and welcome to another episode of Leaders in Tech, where we're shining the light in this dark world with amazing leaders in technology that are really changing this world for a better place. Today we have with us Sergio Sanchez. Sergio, welcome to the show.
Thank you very much, David. Nice to see you.
For the audience, can you give me your full name? Where do you live and what do you do for a living?
Yes, my name is Sergio Sanchez. I live in Cancun, Mexico, and I am the CTO of PriceTravel.com, which is an OTA or online travel agency in Mexico and Colombia.
That's wonderful. So, Sergio, when we were talking about the travel agency you work for, I realized that it's quite large, right?
Yes,
how big is the enterprise?
So we're the largest OTA in Mexico and in Colombia. Our main competitor is Booking.com. We are about 2,000 people working at PriceTravel.com. We have gross sales over $1 billion every year. So yes, it's a quite large operation, and we're aiming for the moon. We're trying to compete with the big guys, and we know Booking.com is a monster, but we really are trying to do disruptive things and innovative things to compete in this market today.
You know, Sergio, when I hear $1 billion a year in sales, that's very hard to understand, honestly. And it's funny because I've interviewed people here that, run multi-billion-dollar companies, but for the audience, just to understand that $1 billion is 1,000 million.
Yes.
Right? How many enterprises make it to $1 million? Not very few, right? And your story is amazing because you went into a market that was already dominated by a couple of huge companies, and being able to compete is incredible. What do you attribute your success?
So our success, it's because I think the mainly is because of the service we provide. We provide also a lot of expertise in the markets we sell. So a huge company focuses mainly on Europe and North America, and we started out focusing in Cancun and the Riviera Maya, which gave us like a platform to start on, like the first step. Right now we're global. We are starting our operation in the US. We were selling more than 200 countries, more than 60,000 hotels around the world. So we're trying to become global, which is a challenge because of these huge competitors that you know about, like Expedia.com or Booking.com. But mainly we try to do it with better service and fast website and the best performance times, and never fighting for each customers. Is what we try to do here, and it's what been driving us to grow each time more, David.
And that's when IT comes in, right? If you're an online business and your website is not fast enough, the customers are going to go to somewhere else, right?
Yes, of course. A few years ago, the simple fact that your website worked, that was a big differentiator because most hotels' websites didn't work like 20 years ago. But
Right,
right now, it's like a commodity. You're either fast or you're out.
right.
So yes. I've been doing this for 25 years, doing OTAs here in Cancun, and yes, a lot has changed, David, and now with all the artificial intelligence that is breaking through the all the businesses in the world, but also in travel. It's challenging, but it's fascinating. It's a real joy to do it.
It keeps you on your tippy toes for sure, right? And
Oh
technology never
yes.
stops. It just keeps evolving and evolving and evolving, right?
Yes, and the new generations are coming of programmers are coming better, and they work faster, and I mean it's hard to keep up, but you gotta do it, you gotta try, and also experience is also a very mixing experience with youth. I think it's been a key of success for us also.
That's incredible. Sergio, let's look at your past because being the top leader in technology for a company that uses technology for a living is very hard, especially for a billion-dollar
Yes.
company. So you must have done a lot of good things and a lot of bad things to get to where you are. So let's look back.
Oh yes.
Did you go to computer science school or did you go to school at all?
Yes. I went to it's called Tecnológico de Monterrey Technology Institute, which is a good school here in Mexico. I studied computer science there, and then I started a company, a startup that we were doing ERPs for medium-sized companies because you had the little ERPs for like little stores, and you had SAP and JD Edwards and all that software that was very expensive. So there was nothing for the medium-sized company in Mexico, and we did quite well. But one of my customers was a tour operator in Cancun that wanted to start to sell in the internet because they wanted to have the client direct, not through big sellers in the US. And I started out giving them courses to their programmers on how to use SQL Server, which was fairly new in the early 2000s. And the owner convinced me to believe in the project, and he gave me a little piece of it, and we built a very big company, which then was sold to Despegar, which is another big company in the region. And so I came to PriceTravel, and I've been doing this since not early 1990s, but the late 1990s. I've been on the OTA business, and I'm very happy about it. Made a career out of it. Worked with thousands of young programmers that now are in middle or high positions around Mexico, and I don't know. It's been very, very fulfilling for me, David.
Sergio, incredible. Number one, Tecnológico Monterrey is like the MIT of Mexico, isn't it?
Yeah,
It's a very good school.
Yeah, but no, it's not MIT. No. I don't know. I think it's far from MIT, but it's a really good school here in Mexico. Yes.
Right. It's incredible because I actually take a little bit of pride on one of my companies is a software consulting firm.
Yes.
And I hire people in 9 countries. 8 of those countries are Canada, USA, and Latin American countries, and then only one more country, Philippines. And the quality of programmers, developers, architects, QA, business people is just as good as we get here in North America. We have North American people too, a lot of them. But sometimes we even get better prepared people, especially from places like Argentina, Mexico.
Yes.
The quality of technologists that the Latin American universities are pumping out are very, very high up. and people don't get it.
Yes, no. There's a lot of talent in Latin America and everywhere in Argentina, Colombia, and Chile, in Brazil. And there's a lot of people doing amazing things, a lot of unicorns coming from Latin America uh, that have become billion-dollar valued companies, not sales, but valued companies. There's a few of them. There's like 10 unicorns that were born in Latin America that are right now in the stock market in the US. So yes, there's a lot of talent in Latin America, and yes, I think we're overlooked by the first world countries a lot in that sense. Not entirely. There's a lot. There's like 40 Mexican programmers in Booking.com right now. There's Mexican programmers in Google. There's Mexican programmers in Microsoft. Few of them are friends of mine. So we're not totally overlooked, but yes, there's a huge amount of talent down here that could be better exploited. Yes, for sure.
Sergio, what prompted you to start your own small business after college instead of just getting a good high-end paying job?
Because I've always wanted to work for myself, especially in Latin America. Big businesses back then were family owned, and the income gap between the high paying job and the owner was staggering, and I wanted to build something for myself. That's why I took the offer of the owner of this tour operator, because he was giving me a little piece of the business. So I wanted to build something. Well, when we're young, we all have dreams, and I wanted to become, I don't know, Bill Gates, whatever, which I obviously never became, but I wanted to do something good with my life, to leave a legacy, even small one, but to leave something better for the next generations. That was very important for me, and to a small scale, I've managed to do that, and I'm very happy for it. Every time one of the people that worked for me 10, 15 years ago, not for me, but with me, and they get a better job, or they are the vice president of some company, it makes me really proud that I was a small part in that person's career, and that makes me very, very happy.
And I share the same sentiment, and that's why I opened this podcast, to give my little bit of, my grain of sand to the development of those great professionals. That a true senior leader is the one that creates other leaders, and that's what you did, and that's what you keep doing, right?
That's what I try to do. I've made a lot of mistakes, a lot of things I would have done differently. I'm 51 years old right now, so right now the best programmers I work with are in their 30s. So there's a generational gap, which is not small, and they're building on what my generation left, and like I built on what other generations left us. When I started out, David, there was no SQL server. You had to build your own databases, your own indexes. But we used algorithms that were made in the 50s, but by other people. So each generation is building on the next, and I'm a true believer that it's going to be better for all of us. And I'm not scared of the AI. We're all losing our jobs part. I think I think that since the Industrial Revolution, they've been saying that. So I think AI is going to change the world, but for the better. And I'm really optimistic about it.
Well, it's every major shift in the way we make business brings a lot of fear.
Yes.
And you're right. If you look back, the first thing that we did as people, we were nomads, right? Like we were just gathering and hunting. That's how humanity started.
Yes.
Then the Lord gave us this gift of agriculture, and we learned how to harvest, how to sow, right? And then we were able to start building little towns. It's funny because everything started with agriculture, and everything runs by agriculture still.
Yes.
We have this blindfold with technology, but if you think about technology, is the top of the pyramid, but the bottom of the pyramid is still agriculture. Without agriculture, we couldn't have cities, we couldn't have towns, we couldn't have. But I remember, like, if you go back, right? If you go back from agriculture, the agricultural revolution to the industrial revolution, right?
Yes.
Everything was done by animals, by hard labor, and then somebody invented the steam machine.
Yes.
And they, what the farmers thought? We're all going to lose our jobs. That's it. That goes my employment.
Exactly, and ever since, I remember when the internet came out, they were saying things like the world is gonna end, and look at where we are right now. Did you know agriculture started only 12,000 years ago, and our species has 300,000 years on the earth. So agriculture has been only around for less than 10% of our existence. And from there, the growth has been exponential, and every time it's faster. It's unbelievable. When I grew up, we didn't have cell phones. And right now, babies are born with cell phones. That's also a thing I try to tell younger people a lot. Don't forget the fundamentals.
Yeah.
TCP/IP was not invented by God. TCP/IP, it's a protocol, and before that there were other protocols, and TCP has got shortcomings that other protocols didn't have. You got to understand them, and stuff like that is very important because, like I took for granted all the things that geniuses made in the 50s, in the 60s, and with that I made a living. They are also building on what we're leaving them. And I don't know, my grandchildren are, I cannot imagine the world they're gonna live in. It's amazing. So being part of this, for me, it's really, really satisfying, David.
It's beautiful, Sergio. We're about the same age. I'm 52, and if you look back, we are standing in the shoulders of giants, aren't we?
Yes, exactly.
Because our forefathers, the inventions, right? If you look at, you know what amazes me, Sergio? Yes, agriculture is kind of modern, but it took a long time. Like, if you think about it, we were riding horses all the way down to the 1900s. Like, in 1905, the majority of the world was riding horses. 1905 was around the corner, like, 100 years ago, right? Like 110 years ago. So critical thinking, and when I see TCP/IP, I remember the token ring networks, but before that, like if you look at the inventions from the past, you go down to a common denominator. Somebody has a dream and believe that it could happen. Somebody has an idea and they believe it could happen and they don't give up. We wouldn't be speaking right now if somebody didn't try 1,000 or more than 1,000 times how to make a light bulb.
Exactly.
It's just Nikolai tells by himself. Like, they said he will go to sleep trying to solve a problem and he will wake up with inspiration on the solution. You as a programmer, former programmer, me as a former programmer, I bet that happened to you too. I remember going to bed thinking, like, how do I fix this bug? And then I will wake up at 3 a.m. Oh, this is what's wrong. And then we'll go right there and fix it.
Yes. Totally agree. Yes, that's been my life.
Right? So,
yes, of course.
But if you look how fast we've grown, like, that's why, so I'm a man of faith. That's why you see my Bible there. And I believe everything is inspired by God, that you have to have the will to break through and do it, right? Like, Nikola Tesla invented a way to send electricity from one place to another without cables.
Yes.
It was shut down because they already had everything planned out to to lay out the electricity and charge us for it, right?
Yes, yes, yes,
So
yes.
there are even things that we should be like maybe light years ahead that is not there because there is some behind interest that is stopping us down, right?
Yes, there's always resistance to change, but I think progress, it's a lot of breaking through those resistances to accomplish something. And that's why I admire a lot of people like Elon Musk, I don't care how eccentric he is or whatever. He believes in something and he goes after it and he does it. And I think those are the people that really, really do a difference in this world and help us all, for better or for worse. But I don't know. I've always admired people like that, and I admire a lot what you're doing, David. And thank you very much for having me here.
Oh, it's a pleasure for me. I love this podcast because we end up talking about wonderful things like what we're talking about. And I don't know what we're going to talk about in every podcast. I love it. I believe the Lord just guiding the conversation. Let's talk about Elon Musk, for example. My son came, I think it was like 15 years ago, and he said, Dad, look, this is why Elon Musk is so successful. And he showed me a clip where he said that he lived on hot dogs for 1 month from Costco. And he said, I'm going to see how much really I need to so I don't starve, so I can risk everything else. And he managed, I think it was like $60. He fed himself for a month with $60 with the cheapest food he could find. And he said, if I have $60, I'm okay. So
Amazing.
when he went into business, that was his mentality. He did whatever it took to accomplish his dreams. You see?
Yes. I didn't know that. That's very interesting. I didn't know that. That's amazing. Yes, yes. And then he did it, and he's done things that nobody dreamt about 20 years ago. It's
exactly.
really.
But for example, that having that idea of making a really usable electric car. That in 2008, during the crisis, when he talks about this, he actually cries. He cannot stop getting sentimental because he was about to lose it all with Tesla. If the Obama government doesn't give him a loan, I think he had like a month left in the bank of money. Tesla was going to go under.
I didn't know that.
But yeah. Let's look at SpaceX. People see these spaceships and I'm like, how can one person be responsible for so much progress? This guy is willing to do whatever it takes so that his ideas work. And he knows that he has to hire people smarter than him. But he's still at the forefront, isn't he? Right?
Yes.
How can you make a rocket ship that is 10 times cheaper than NASA when NASA has billions and billions of dollars of funding?
Yeah, those are the people I admire. People that go beyond, of what it's like expected, or people that go above. I think there are people that live to work instead of work for a living. But other than that, I think they're the people that make us what we are today. And there's a lot of them. Elon Musk is not the only one, and there's been hundreds of them that have made us be where we are today. And I'm grateful for them. And I'm also a man of faith, and yes, I think God helped us there a little.
Well, and you and I have the privilege of seeing the revolution of technology. I tell my kids, you're having it awesome, but you don't know what it took to get there, right? That's why leaders in technology, right? Like when I was a kid, Sergio, two of my uncles, one was the CIO for Henkel, Central America. My other uncle was the CIO for the largest bank in town. And they will come on the weekends and they will bring us these boxes full of cards, punch cards.
Yes,
and I would make castles, with the cards because they were just garbage for him. But for me, I was building all this. It was a toy for me. Later on, I figured out that he was doing programming compilations with this thing.
Yes. Well, did you know that the Mexico City airport payroll system is still working with cards?
No. with
because
punch
it's
card?
so, yeah, because it was made so good that they still use it.
Why
It's
fix it?
it's amazing. Yes, why fix it? Yeah, never fix something that is not broken. Never do that. I think that's always a mistake. And I think I always tell my programmers that there's a lot of ways to get from point A to point B, but there's always one way that is the most effective way to get there. So try to find the simplest way, and you'll have more chance of success than if you go around in circles, you know. So yes, the payroll system in Mexico City's airport, it's still using
That's
the cards
incredible.
40 years later.
So, if you show somebody forget the cards, right?
Yes.
Show a kid a diskette. Remember the diskettes?
Yes. They're like, what is this for? A telephone, an old telephone. They're like, how do I turn on this thing? Yes, no, it's another world. And you and I had the privilege of living through one of the most exponential times that is going to be nothing compared to what they do in the future. But I'm very grateful for being able to been living through the 80s, 90s, 2000s, 2010, making a career out of it, and accomplishing things, like being the largest OTA in Mexico and Colombia. It's been really satisfying and gratifying for me, and I thank God every day for that.
That's beautiful. And you know what, Sergio? If you say Mexico and Colombia, they're the two largest economies in Latin America. I mean, then you have Brazil and Argentina, and what else, right?
No, there's a company called Despegar.com, which is larger than us in Latin America because they have a lot of sales in Brazil, which is huge.
Right.
They also sell in Mexico and Colombia, but they're smaller than us. And they bought the company I used to work for, but they are more like McKinsey style management, and I think that has held them back a little. So we we beat them in Mexico a few 2 years ago, and in Colombia we were always the biggest. But no, our competition is not them. Our competition is Booking.com. They are the masters of the OTA world. They are the best by far.
I am also amazed at the economy. I always tell people, vote for a government that doesn't mess with the economy. If
Yes.
all the government does is leave the economy by itself, we will prosper. Right? Guatemala had that blessing. So I was born in Guatemala. We had this blessing that since we signed the peace agreement, we had horrible governments most of the time. However, they were never allowed to touch the economy. So did you know that during the pandemic, Guatemala had an 11% growth year over year? Growth.
I didn't know that.
The pandemic.
That's amazing.
You know why? Because the government never touches the economy. They closed down for a couple of, I think it was 6 weeks to figure it out. Then they realized that if they would put people on lockdown, they will die from starvation. So they say, okay, let's go. And as a result, the economy grew, and they didn't have more debts than anybody else. Well, Mexico was open too, right?
No, Mexico was very hard for us. No, for the tourism industry, it was catastrophic. David, Cancun, it looked like a post-apocalyptic world. You didn't see a car in the streets. Only pharmacies or drugstores and gas stations were open. No, I didn't see a tourist for a year. No, it was a very hard time for us, but PriceTravel managed to survive thanks to an amazing CEO, an owner with a lot of vision and a lot of hard work, and that's also something I wanted to mention. The importance of the entrepreneur, the one that puts all the eggs, the one that puts the meat, not the eggs, in the ham and eggs.
Right.
They risk everything. They risk all their life, all their savings to do something, you know. So thanks to them and to good management, PriceTravel managed to survive the pandemic. Many others didn't, and well, we thrive. And then after the pandemic, we took the opportunity. One of the things of being smaller than the Booking, Expedia, etc. One of the advantages is you can move faster just because of your size, and that agility we're trying to never lose it, so we can have a chance to compete with them in other markets. So yes, it was devastating for us, the pandemic, but we survived it clean and without debt, and that was also a big help to become the largest OTA in Mexico, and in Colombia we never lost that right.
You know, Sergio, this is one of the examples of great leadership. And I believe that world crisis, it shows the true colors of a business. So that if your company is thriving just because you're riding a wave of good times, and you become fat, then the first crisis you go bankrupt. The companies that make it through the crisis are the ones that have the strongest foundations and the best leadership. And that's how they gain market share up right afterwards, like you guys did. You gained market share because you were able to grab the market of the people that went out of business because they were fat and they were not well-led, right?
Yes, of course. Totally right, David. That's 100% what happened.
Sergio, what's in the future for you after all this success, being the top leader of this organization? What do you have in mind?
Well, what I have in mind, it's gonna sound funny to you, but I always wanted to study philosophy. So I'm going back to school after I managed to retire. The pandemic threw my plans off for like 10 years, so I have to wait 10 years. But when I retire, I don't care how old I am, I'm gonna go to philosophy school. It's philosophy in English, right? And I'm gonna study philosophy, which is my passion, and I don't know, I just wanna learn it, not just for fun, just for the fun of it. That's it. Just to understand how we managed to become from gatherers and hunters, and then agricultures, and then what we are now. What were the Greeks thinking? I think those people changed the world, and I don't know. It's very interesting for me, all that history of the human thought process, and the Battle of Gaugamela of Alexander the Great that changed the world. All that part, you know, that's what I want to study, and more than the history of it, the thinking behind it. It's very interesting for me. It's always been my passion, but I don't have a lot of time to do it right now. My wife is a master in psychology, in philosophy, and she has, well, not taught me a lot, but she has, I don't know, told me stories that are unbelievable for me, and I want to do that. That's my plan, David.
That's beautiful. And you know, it's my dad used to say, you never stop learning. The last thing that you learn is how to die.
Yes.
Never stop learning. You know, he went back to community college when he was 72. He retired at 72. The next year, he went back to community college because he wanted to become a programmer. So he started learning how to do little programming. He went into a C++ course and into a database course. And you know what he did? He had a hobby. He was collecting, DVDs.
Yes.
Thousands of them. So he made a little database to control all his DVDs and what they were. And because he was retired, that was his passion.
Without SQL Server or anything, he made it on text, and then he made his indexes by hand, and he used the bubble algorithm for sure. So that's all the foundations of most systems right now today. So it's amazing. Congratulations to that. It's amazing.
So, now that you have this plan, kudos to you, do it. I'm going faster than that because I'm also fascinated by history and the way humans have evolved to now. If you're interested, now that you mentioned Alexander the Great, start reading the book of Daniel in the Bible.
Okay.
Because the book of Daniel predicted all the major empires all the way down to the end. So he predicted the 4 greatest empires that ever lived: the Roman Empire, the Greek Empire, Alexander the Great, and the other 2, I don't remember even their names, the Ottoman Empire too, I think, the Babylonian Empire.
Yes.
And he also predicted the last empire that we're going to have, that we're about to have. And if you look back, if you look at those prophecies, and then you can just research what the prophecies mean, because it's hard to understand, but do your research on the internet, and then you'll figure out that it's pointing to all these empires. And then you go inside of the empires and you see what they did. For example, do you know that Alexander the Great, he went through Israel because he was conquering everything.
Yes.
And he had a dream. And in this dream, the Lord told him to leave along Israel. So he went in there. The Israelites thought that they were going to get decimated by him, and he actually respected them, and he allowed the Jews to be.
I didn't know that. I didn't know.
Amazing?
I'm gonna take your advice on it. That's very interesting. That's my passion. Understanding all that is always been my passion. I started programming because that was a good way to make a living and a nice one opportunity. But my passion has always been that, for sure,
Amazing. Sergio, almost 40 minutes have gone by, and it has been a beautiful, beautiful talk. Thank you for your leadership. Thank you for making the world a better place. 1,000 people depend on the technologies that you guys are making, and so many other, I guess millions of people are your customers that are touching the technologies that you lead. And thank you for that.
Yes, and I never forget that the responsibility it means that to have 1,000 families live off if I make a mistake, I can, it's always the adrenaline, it's hard, but we managed, we try to manage. And thank you very much for this opportunity, David. Very nice to talk to you, and whatever you need, I'm your friend and at your service.
Thank you so much, Sergio. One last question before you leave.
Yes.
If you had access to a billboard in front of the busiest highway on earth, what would you write on it?
What would I write on it? I would write, give me just 1 second to think. I would write, it's not the times you fall, but the times you stand up that count. That's what I would write.
That's beautiful. And it's true. We just talked about the pandemic, right?
Yes.
The Bible says that the just falls 7 times, but he picks himself up 7 times too.
Yes. That's what I would write. I don't know. I'm out of the blue, but maybe if I thought about it, I could come up with something better.
No, that's perfect. Thank you for your advice, Sergio. If people to follow you, are you on LinkedIn? People like to get their travel arrangements through your business. Where can they find you?
PriceTravel.com. PriceTravel.com. That's our website. We are we have a US website, Mexico website, Colombian website, Latin America, all Latin America, even Europe, and in German. We also have a site in Germany, and so we have hotels around the world, flights around the world, with all the major airlines, low-cost carriers, whatever they need. And please contact me if you have any problems, which I hope you don't.
Fantastic, Sergio. Thank you so much. God bless you. Have a wonderful rest of the week.
You too. Bye-bye. Thank you, David.
Thank you for tuning in to the Leaders in Tech podcast. Check in next week to keep learning how to use technology and leadership to change the game. See you next time.